Well, I would say the big picture message is with the magnitude of drought we've really had to fight through here over the course of the last 18 to 24 months, the herd has shrunk faster than we would have expected 2 years ago. Again, it really accelerated in 2022 as a result of nearly 65% of the nation's cow herd was under drought conditions. So supplies are already back to the previous cycle lows that we experienced in 2014 and 15 as far as cow numbers are concerned. We're going to be looking at significantly smaller fed slaughter, significantly smaller beef output over the next 3 years.
Has to mean some higher prices on the horizon then, right?
We will see higher prices. We're going to see a significant increase in volatility in these markets. You're going to see some big swings, so better be ready.
What are some of those specific prices that CattleFax is predicting?
Well, I think as you look at this next year, just think about over the course of the last few years as we've come through the COVID impact. Obviously, when we went through COVID, markets got undervalued. As we went through there, we created that million head backlog. Fed cattle prices, we have to remember, are already $60 a hundred off their lows. The lows in the summer of 2020 were 95 cents a pound. We've traded cattle as high up in here over the last several weeks, basically up to 160, 157 to 160 in that range. When we look at the spring, we expect we'll get into the mid 160s, maybe a little bit higher than that at the spring highs. Summer lows back in the low to mid 50s, and by the time we get to fall, we'll be selling cattle back up in here probably from 170 to 175.
Here in 2023, the CattleFax Outlook is hopefully saying goodbye to a weather pattern that hasn't been all that friendly to the western U.S.
Well, it really hasn't been friendly to the western U.S. It hasn't been friendly to the western Corn Belt regions. Definitely has not been friendly to anybody from Kansas south, the central southern plain regions. So, again, you're talking about major areas in here. It's not just been about cattle production, it's been about grain production. We've had record wide grain basis levels. We've had record high corn prices. So we've had it coming at us in the cattle industry from all directions. I know our corn farmers needed some profitability. Our soybean farmers needed profitability. Hopefully they've taken advantage of this big run in prices over the last 18 months and hedged off some of their future production levels, because again, this was an opportunity in here that we could lock in some profits on our production side that we haven't been able to do for a lot of years now.
Any particular concerns front of mind for you as we enter 2023?
Well, I think the biggest thing as I look at these markets is we have tremendous demand out here today. Again, most people don't realize 2022 was the largest beef production in the history of our industry. In spite of our smaller numbers, because of the pounds that we have per head, this was the biggest beef production year in the history of our industry. We have strong demand, the strongest spreads, the biggest prime to choice spread, the biggest choice to select spread. So my biggest concern is to short the market too much of supply, drive too many consumers away, because again, we have to ration the usage. We're not going to have that supply for U.S. or global customers as we look at the next 2 to 3 years. So those are things, when you build the demand up as we have as an industry by giving consumers what they want, you'd love to be able to put a little more of that supply in front of them, not go through quite as big a shock as we're going to go through.
What else would you like to add that I haven't asked you about?
Well, I would say one of the big things is profitability. We have to have an industry that our producers are profitable. We've had very limited profitability for our cow-calf producers. They're long overdue. You really have to go back to 2014 and 15 since we've had any real measure of profitability for our production segment. That's the only fixed cost operator in the system. So we need a big boost for that segment of the industry to where we send a signal to produce more of these calves that we can use in our production systems elsewhere. So I'm looking forward to seeing that profitability actually be there for those cow-calf people.
That's Randy Blach. He's the Chief Executive Officer of CattleFax, joining us here at this year's Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. I'm Bryce Duskett reporting.